Welcome back, everyone, to a brand new Getting Color right here on the Big Vito Brand.com. I am Virtue from No DQ, and that is the man himself, Big Vito LaGrasso, who used to do the review with me over on No DQ back when it was great and we were getting thousands and thousands of views in only a matter of hours. Vito.
And now you're only getting hundreds and hundreds.
We peak at like 2,000, but yeah, it's not the same without you. What's up?
Nothing, man. How are you doing? Weekend.
Good.
It has been rainy in Florida today. I took the missus out, mani pedi, iced coffee, got us some dinner. You know what I mean? And she parading around like she all that today. You know what I mean? But they don't realize that I'm treating her special, and she doesn't have to lift a finger. And I hope she appreciates all the hard work here at the Big Vito brand, because she's living a lifestyle. You know what I mean? A lifestyle. Just like in the Virtue household, somebody's living a lifestyle over there. Drinks every night. I'm telling you.
Yeah, my girlfriend's hooked up. My dad's hooked up. Man, they're living the grand life with me, not off of me, with me. I let it though. Yeah, I allow it to happen.
All right. What we got today, man? Come on, we got a lot of stuff.
Vito,
a lot of good stuff to talk about.
A couple of our topics today are going to stem around injuries. So before we talk about specifics, and we might have talked about this before, but I swear it can't just be me, but a lot of wrestlers today get hurt. Now, I know it's a physical game, and for years wrestlers would get banged up, but you would still find ways to work smart, work hurt, work the next town. I think matches now are getting so ridiculous with certain spots and stunts. Some of these injuries, Vito, are putting people on the shelf where they can't go to the next town. And do you have, we talked about this before, but it might have been a couple of years. What's your insight here? I mean, some people still work smart. Like, look at The Miz, right? Miz rarely injured. I think he might have had one injury his whole career. Jericho, rarely injured. And there's some others. But, man, Vito, we're going to talk about a couple key injuries later in the show. But what's your thoughts on this?
I'm going to explain something, okay? Guys don't take care of guys like they used to. Everybody tries to do too many spots and instead of trying to make it wrestling 101, right? That's the first thing. Second thing, when you're having muscle tears at this rate, like Major League Baseball and other sports, there is a vitamin called HGH. HGH keeps you lean, keeps you you're fit, but it also makes your muscles thin. So when you try to do these exercises and you're on the gas, your muscles implode. They friggin' explode. They stretch out. You can only stretch out the muscles so much. And when you look at guys who are in a non-drug-tested environment, and you say, wow, this guy's jacked, this guy's this guy's that. And then you look at guys who are in a tested environment, people look different. Now, when you move from one company to another and they looked a certain way at one company and then they go to the other company and their body took a shit, what do you think happened?
They're not taking the HGH.
They're not taking the supplements. Pretty simple. So when you hear of torn pec, torn bicep, torn this, you're not lifting that much weight. And these guys are not big guys, right? So when you're taking the gas, this stretches out your muscles. It makes you lean, makes you thin. So it makes you vascular and you don't have that much meat on your body. So what are you pumping? Your muscles only are as elastic as can be before they snap.
So, Vito, injuries seem like they're happening at an all-time high rate. They're severe injuries to where some of these wrestlers need to take significant time off, significant surgeries or whatnot. Now, tell me what's going on here. We're going to piggyback this into topic number one. Tonight is WWE Hell in a Cell.
Hell in a Cell.
The main event. It's weird. No Roman Reigns, right? He's on his part-time schedule. He's going to be off for most of the summer. So they have Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins in a Hell in a Cell because Seth attacked him after losing to him twice. That's the story. News has come out, and I'm trying to think if this is legit or not. WWE said it, that he tore his pec muscle or something right off the bone just the past week, yet he's still working the match tonight, Vito. So, first of all, who's going to win this Hell in a Cell match, and what's going on with this injury? You think it's a shoot?
Okay. If they say somebody's injured, right, that means he's not going 100%. So Cody Rhodes might put Seth Rollins over because of the injury, because Seth Rollins is due a victory. Make sense?
That's true. Yeah.
Okay. So there's the crutch to get Rollins over finally. There's the crutch.
Is it safe for Cody if he does have a torn pec? How can you do this in a Hell in a Cell if this is
very
legit?
Painful? Cortisone shot, painkillers, got through it, suburban, and you go out there, do your job, and then go home and suffer. But if he does have a torn pec, I don't see him doing too much. I think he's going to take a beat down. So Hell in a Cell, beat down makes sense. He's on the shelf, and he just came back to the
Seth
WWE.
goes over, right? Gets the shine.
Seth goes over.
Gets momentum while Cody's away, and then Cody gets healthy, comes back. Okay, that's kind of what I figured out. But man, I was kind of shocked because Cody typically doesn't do too crazy stuff in his matches, but here he is, Vito, injured. Now, Cesaro, he's not hurt, but he let his contract expire from WWE, and everybody's thinking AEW. I think he's taking time off to get healthy, be with his family. He has a kid. Great, right? I mean, perfect time to do that. He's worked for WWE a long time. If he was smart with his money, he's okay. But it's Cesaro. He's going to get that itch. And I originally thought this is another Tony Khan guy, AEW. Here he comes. Now I'm not so sure. I think he wasn't released. Remember, he just didn't sign a new contract. He let it expire. I think he ends up back in WWE. I think he might be a lifer. What do you think here with Cesaro? Because we haven't talked about him for a while because I think he's just enjoying his time away.
Well, when somebody is like him, he's a hard worker, he's a great tag team wrestler, and he was never – they tried to push him as a main event guy, and everybody forgets that Paul Heyman did manage him, and they just didn't think he was main event caliber. Doesn't take away from the wrestler that he is, right? So if he stepped away from the game and he had enough cushion to take that time off, okay, so now he took the time off. He's ready to come back. Does he go back to WWE if they treated him good? Yeah, I think so. There's no reason for him to leave. But if he left on his own and let it, play out, there's no reason for him to leave. He just took a hiatus. Regroup, then when he's ready to come back, he comes back. That's it. Simple.
I think he'll end up back in WWE, and he's content there, and he's all right. And again, we're now at the stage where you see AEW getting all of these former WWE people, and it's getting kind of crowded over there. So I wouldn't blame people not going over there if they're already in a comfortable environment and liking what they currently do. Now, of course, you have your like Sasha and Naomi, who weren't happy with their push. Ultimately, we know what happened there. The MJF thing, which we've talked about on the last couple of shows. Again, I want to bring this back up. I heard Jim Cornette. He doesn't necessarily think this is a work because he doesn't think Tony Khan's smart enough to make this a work and that it's playing out on TV contract negotiations and battling, and it's playing out on TV. Jim Cornette's a legend in the business, and he doesn't throw any BS around. He says what he thinks probably is happening based on his years of experience. Do you want to piggyback off that at all? Do you think he holds merit with that?
Tony Khan has done some Dixie Carter things.
That's a good way to put it.
And he's learning on the job. I think he needs to take a step back, pull the reins in. At this point, he let this MJF have a little bit too much reign. All right. But you want to try and be this big star. There's only so far you can go. You know what I mean? And there's only so much you could say. Now, I overheard something on the Conan show that his first year he made $70,000. His second year, they said he was at $1 million. Then they said Mark Henry and Paul White are at $750 a year. Now, Mark Henry does commentary for $750. Paul White's hardly wrestling for $750. So, I mean, is that?
They said MJF got $1 million a second year. I didn't think it went up that much.
But that's what they say. You know, that was just in the show, like what they said. And they also said there's 14 guys ahead of MJF on the pay scale.
Which, think about all those signings.
Well, Sting, for one, Christian Cage, Miro, Jericho. I'm at 4 already. Moxley, Daniel Bryan, CM Punk. That's 7.
Yeah.
Samoa Joe, possibly. William Regal.
What about some of the guys they've had, like Kenny Omega? You think they pay him pretty well?
Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, 1, 2. Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks. Jack Hager.
What about Adam Cole?
Maybe we'll throw him in there for 14. So I'm at 14 guys already.
You count Big Show, Mark Henry?
Yeah, I counted them all. I counted them. So that's 14 guys ahead of MJF.
I just find it like if that's really taking place and like it's unfolding on TV, you got to think Tony Khan or somebody smartened him up to know better I just still feel it's all work and they're trying to be like tricky with it all. I don't know, but man.
Yeah, but they took the guy's merch off. They took him off the website, right? Okay.
Which you can do. Obviously that could be part of the work. I mean, that's creative if that is the case.
Now, where do they go from here? Because the guy's on the contract for another 2 years. And say this isn't a work. I don't know how they put him back on TV with the language he used because the networks are not happy. Then that's the truth. Then
why did they put him on TV in the first place, knowing he could say whatever he wanted? That's because I don't get it.
Because he's one of the main players, and they can't shun him. Now they can, and his punishment was to do the job to Wardlow and job out the way he did. Now he comes back. He said what he had because he probably mad he had to do the job. And now what? When does he go back out there? I wouldn't put the heavyweight title on him if you paid me millions of dollars.
Well, I want you to hold that thought because AEW definitely had a curveball thrown at them. But before we talk about the meat and potatoes of tonight's show, what is on Big Vito's mind, if anything, or you might just be ready to start talking about the AEW World Title picture, which is now in turmoil. You got something on your mind this week?
I think the girls, I keep thinking about Naomi and Sasha Banks holding out and what's going on with their contracts expiring. Then the women's division in AEW, Britt Baker's not hardly on. There was a thing with Thunder Rosa, where they said she was unhappy with her status, and they really haven't been doing anything with her since she won the title.
And she's the champion, yes.
And she's the champion, which she has a beef to be, a reason to be mad if she's the women's champion. Well, where's her time? She's not even on the B and C shows. So you're like, okay, what happened to that? I just don't know what's going on in women's wrestling right now. Becky Lynch has gone from superstardom, and she's slowly coming down the food chain. She's not royalty no more.
Who do you think's going to win tonight? I don't know if that match has happened yet or not, because I'm not watching Hell in a Cell live. But remember, right. Bianca Belair was defending her title against Asuka and Becky in a triple threat, I believe.
I think Belair wins.
Okay, so she keeps her title? I think so,
I think she keeps it. I think she keeps it. You know, I think that, Thunder Rosa having the title in AEW, they're making it null and void because the women division might not be as good as they think. So they're trying not to push women's wrestling on there. Just my take.
That could be the take. I mean,
you see a lot of. Go ahead.
Here's a weird thing. There's a pay-per-view tonight, and I think there's a SmackDown-related match on it, but it's mostly Raw. What the hell are they doing with Ronda Rousey? She's the champion. I mean, Bayley hasn't come back yet. You know, is it because they don't have anybody? Charlotte's off. We know what happened with Naomi and Sasha. So what's up with Ronda?
They said Bayley was supposed to make an appearance at Hell in a Cell. Ronda Rousey has been silent. We haven't heard nothing about her.
Oh.
So, but that's because of the Naomi and Sasha Banks issues, because those girls were supposed to have matches at Hell in a Cell. So if they don't have opponents, what are they supposed to do? And they put Bianca Belair in a three-way match.
I think they do something impromptu tonight, something weird. So we'll find out. You know, we'll be able to talk about it on the sit-down this week for sure. Okay. All right, Vito. Are you ready for this? CM Punk won the AEW World title at Double or Nothing against Adam Page.
Right.
He got emotional. First title in the wrestling business in 9 years. Remember, he took 7 years off.
Right.
He wrestled on Dynamite. I don't know exactly what happened, but allegedly he's hurt because on Rampage Friday night, he announced that he's hurt. He's going to have to be off, whether he's going to have surgery, rehab, whatever it is. Here's what they're doing. They're not taking the title from him. They're going to let him go get healthy. Right. He's still going to be AEW champion. They're going to create something, Battle Royal, and the winner faces Moxley. However, Tony Khan decided that. You know how they have their ranking systems, and they're not always consistent to that ranking system. But it sounds like it's going to be Moxley versus somebody, and they're going to be the interim AEW World Champion. And then when Punk is back, when he's healthy, they'll have an undisputed championship match. So thoughts on all this, the timing of CM Punk, and who could be that guy?
Okay.
A lot going on there.
Rankings. Wardlow beat MJF at the pay-per-view. Wardlow dropped in the rankings 4 spots. How does that happen? Wardlow should be the #1 contender. It should be Wardlow against Moxley.
I think they're going to have a battle royal or something like that.
But the thing is, if Wardlow just beat MJF, that takes him out of contention for the title because he's not a #1 contender. He's just coming off a loss.
Yeah, it can't be MJF because, like, could you imagine if they decided to CM Punk this thing and have MJF, like, sneak into a battle royal or whatever, win that, beat Moxley? Now you're definitely telling everybody this was a work. So, like, you're right. Like, MJF has to stay far away from this as possible. I don't know if they can do that because you know how they are. They might think he's the hot ticket. I personally think, and it could be too early for him, I think it could be Wardlow. I know, Vito, you know about wrestlers being green and maybe you can't get a title too early because it could damage your career.
He is way too green. And they had 2 green champions. If anybody should have the title, it should be Jon Moxley.
I say Wardlow, man.
Through.
I don't know. I say Wardlow because it's AEW. How green can you be? You're would you rather put it? Well, okay, Moxley, and he's had it before. That's a safe bet.
Well,
like that's hard to argue.
You had Kenny Omega, who was never a champion in the States.
Oh, and he could be ready to be returning too. We don't know that.
But he was very vanilla, and he didn't move the needle. They put it on Hangman Page. Very green, very vanilla, didn't move the needle. Jericho moved the needle, right?
Remember, Moxley had it for a bit.
He's
the one that beat Jericho for it.
Right. So you're talking two guys who are former champions. They're not even in, you only have Moxley doing it. I've been saying they should put it back on Jericho and have Jericho be the champion because that'll bring ratings. But Wardlow fell out of the ratings because he beat MJF, and I don't understand the ranking system. He should be the front runner against Moxley. It shouldn't even be a battle royal. That's a
good point. So you're basically saying then when they crown regardless of the battle royal or whoever faces Moxley, you have Moxley should be the champion. Is that where you're going with this?
Yes.
For that interim title and then when Punk comes back, there's your match. Moxley
there's your match. And then if MJF is back in the good graces, then they put that title on him now. They totally shit the bed.
You're talking MJF.
Yeah. They totally
and you're thinking Wardlow's still too green, so maybe keep him, build him up for the next year, let him get more experience. Okay.
I mean, he is green, and putting another green guy in a championship match, you can't do it.
Now, this show is called Getting Color, so we got to talk about the hot topics and the very opinionated and subjective things. So, Punk got hurt. You know the history of Ryback and CM Punk, right?
I was just about to say, he said karma's a bitch.
So I want to know, so basically CM Punk on a podcast called Ryback out for being stiff, hurting him when he was in WWE, that he didn't deserve to be in that spot. He was green. He was stiff. Punk took 7 years off, came back, got pushed, finally got the title again. Ryback comes back in the picture on Twitter when Punk announced he was hurt. And like you said karma's a bitch. And Ryback has been saying some really, really, really personal things. What's Vito's take?
The guy's shooting the truth. If he's got no beef, why is he going to sit there and tell lies? That's why the WWE is begging Ryback to stop. They're even offering him money to stop, and he won't. Okay? So the guy's telling the truth. There are a lot of things that I could say, and I don't say nothing about nothing. You know what I mean? But when you're talking these guys and you're talking they're shooting venom, it's legit heat. And Ryback and Punk have legit heat between them. And if they would just, talk on the side, settle it like men, and Punk shut up, Ryback shut up, then it goes away. But neither one of them will. And when he said karma's a bitch, now CM Punk was in there with somebody else besides Ryback, and he got hurt. And he's champion. So did he get hurt wrestling the Gun Club when he jumped off the top rope? Did he sprain an ankle? Did he do, what did he do? They really didn't say what he did to get hurt.
No. And we don't know, if he's having surgery or he needs to rehab. But, yeah, here we are, Vito. And, somebody like Ryback, perfect opportunity. Basically, hey, I don't just hurt people. Punk, you got hurt in a wrestling ring because it happens. Karma's a bitch. So I just wanted your take on that. So, wow.
There you go. Right now, the update on the Hell in a Cell women's match is currently on. Then there's a rumor, the Forbidden Door, with Moxley versus somebody from New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Well, hey, they're going to have to change that. It was supposed to be Punk versus Tanahashi. Now I'm sure it's going to be whoever wins that interim championship versus Tanahashi. So see what happens, Vito?
I think it would be – I think if it's going to be somebody, they were going to put it on Moxley and they do it with somebody out of the company and make somebody out of the company do a job so nobody in the company loses credibility. Yeah. Smart booking, you know. But to put it on anybody else, and if Moxley goes into a feud again with Chris Jericho, now you got something people are going to watch because they did it already. And Jericho has a new group. So it's all there for you, people. It's all there. And this is getting color.
Dude, and by the way, we were just talking about if Cena should come back and have his little, you know, how he likes to usually have something going into SummerSlam. He did last year with Roman Reigns. Maybe that's when his Hollywood schedule frees up. Something's cooking here with him in Theory because they're interacting with each other on social media. So I think it's a foregone conclusion. John Cena will return this summer for a one-event feud, maybe do a couple TVs leading into SummerSlam, and he will challenge Theory for the U.S. title. Remember, Cena had the U.S. title after his big world title runs and made it kind of credible when he did that open challenge. And so this is kind of fitting. I think it's definitely going to happen now, Vito. With them interacting, I don't think Cena says a peep about wrestling unless he's coming back. Do you think he puts Theory over at SummerSlam if this happens?
Well, the way they're looking at Theory, the way Vince McMahon looks at Theory, he's a younger version of John Cena. He's just as handsome. He has the body. He's got the look. And who better than to get his clone to put him over for the U.S. title? Cena doesn't need to go over. It's a foregone conclusion. This kid needs to go over because they don't have any stars.
And it'll be if Cena comes back, you know, say he's on a couple of Raws or a SmackDown. Hey, if Roman's taking time off, now you got Cena. He can cut some promos, build the match, make it seem like a big deal. That's in John Cena's wheelhouse at this stage of his career. So we'll see. I think it'll happen.
We'll see what happens. Very good show tonight.
Yeah, that's it. Anything you want to say in closing, or I will go ahead and close the show.
Close the show. We had a great show. Thank everybody for the chat. We greatly appreciate you.
Be sure to follow Vito on Twitter at The Big Vito Brand. Follow me if you'd like at NoDQ_Virtue. Check out Patreon over at patreon.com/BigVMafia. We do the sit down. We started that up again. Virtue's Rage with Jargo and I will be back. And I know you do Men of Business. That's all right here on the BigVitoBrand.com. But this has been Getting Color. For Big Vito LaGrasso, I am Virtue. Thanks for listening and watching, and we will be back again next time.